Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning. Consideration of agenda items. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes.
Sheila?
I have 2 items to add.
Yes.
I need to add notification item E under administration. Notification of McLeod Drainage Authority public hearing on redetermination of benefits of county ditches 63 and 64. The Drainage Authority will hear public comment on the acceptance of the redetermination of benefits in the McLeod County North Complex Building, Large Conference Room, 2391 Hennepin Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota, on Monday, November 18th, 2019 at 9:00 a.m. I have one other item.
Okay.
Add item C under Public Works. Consider approval of quote from R&R Excavating of Hutchinson, Minnesota to perform demolition services on 1214 Morningside Avenue, Glencoe, Minnesota, for a cost of $12,220. This cost would be allocated to the Morningside project. Another quote was received from Ken's Excavating of Glencoe, Minnesota, for $12,955.
Pardon, what was the number of the ditch systems again?
63 and 64.
Thank you.
Yes,
All right.
that's all.
Any other Any other additions or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve with the additions.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have our first public hearing this morning. It's regarding Resolution 19 CB 47, the Capital Improvement Plan. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Colleen?
At this time, I'm actually asking for a continuance to November 5th for the public hearing to be in compliance with Minnesota statute of advertisement of 14 days prior.
All right, so will you go over any information, or you're just asking for the continuance?
I'm just going to ask for the continuance, and then you can review that in your packet for the next meeting, then I'll go over it at that time.
Mike, walk me through that.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, so I need a motion to continue the public hearing until November 5th.
I make a motion to move it to November 5th. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Move to close the public hearing.
I think we
We don't have to.
still close it. All right, motion by Commissioner Kruger,
Second.
second by Commissioner Szymanski. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Lynette?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Not very well, so thank you.
I'm here before you to amend the Recorder Modernization Fund resolution that was established in June of 1985 and then amended at various times. From each document that was recorded, a 1985 statute allowed the county to put monies into a modernization fund for recorder technology and office infrastructure. In 2005, statute established the Recorder Technology Fund, whereby monies from each document would be put into this fund. Mike Young then said that these two funds need to be separated as each by statute had 2 different uses. I'm here today to amend the paragraph in the original resolution to state the following. Fees placed into this fund have ceased as of September 30th, 2005. Fees collected for this purpose and not expended by December 31st, 2024 shall then revert to the general fund. The only thing being amended is the date that the funds may be expended by, which was December 31st, 2019, and now amending to December 31st, 2024. Any questions?
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Lynette, thank you for bringing this forward. We're extending the date on the fund that is no longer being funded, is that correct?
Correct. We're not putting any more monies into it. Now we're putting monies into the Recorder Technology Fund.
right.
So this fund is being used for different purposes than the Recorder Technology Fund.
Is there any intent to ever sunset this fund since it's no longer being,
No, we have not. I had thought that with the upcoming moving to the government center, that we would probably be able to use a lot more of this fund for various purposes out there.
okay, all right. But nothing has been added to it since 2005, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
what's the approximate balance of this?
210,000, give or take.
All right.
It's used every once in a while, so.
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Johnson planning on attending, Sheila? Do you know?
I thought that he was. Yes.
Okay. Well, we are ahead of schedule, so we can wait. I think we could go to the auditor treasurer's. Connie, if you're willing to go. I'm sorry? I can't hear you. Yeah, right, for Mark.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So today I am here to have you consider the rental property located north and west of the Health and Human Services Building on Ford Avenue in Glencoe, Minnesota, to Mark Albright for 10 years. He has been renting for 10 years from the county. This would be for a one-year term. He's expressed interest to continue to rent the land in 2020 with a rent agreement effective November 1st, 2019 to October 31st, 2020.
All right, any questions?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the rental agreement with Mark Albright for a one-year contract.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila, are you handling IT, or is Mr. Traska coming?
I can, so.
Okay, go ahead then.
Item A, consider approval of quote from All Stream Communications from Plymouth, Minnesota for upgrading the county's telephone system for an amount of $19,926.65 with funds from the information technology budget. This is the item that was tabled at our last meeting.
Great.
McLeod County's current phone system was installed in 2010. Some of the components of the current system have gone end of life, and the version of software that we are running will enter end of support in 2020. Our vendor, Allstream Communications, has recommended upgrades to our system. These upgrades will replace the components that have gone end of life and will upgrade the software to the most current version available. Our maintenance agreement provides access to the newer software but does not include labor to implement. The last software upgrade was completed in 2016. On October 8th, I asked for this item to be tabled for 2 weeks to review other new information. We've done that and would ask for approval.
Okay. Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sheila, will this phone system upgrade be compatible as we complete the new government center? Will that equipment roll right into the new facility and continue to be used?
Yes, that's what we wanted to review, is to make sure that this would be at least compatible with anything new we would purchase. The plan is to keep moving forward with the equipment from this vendor. We will, of course, keep this at the courthouse, so we need to upgrade the components regardless. But we do not plan on purchasing a new phone system when we move into the government center.
All right, thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the Allstream Communications quote for the county telephone system.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Just making sure we can move on. Public Works. John?
Good morning.
Morning.
First item, we would like you to consider our policy for mud and debris cleanup. We've always had an informal policy in-house, how we handle mud complaints, mud cleanup, and so forth. And it was the desire of the board to come back with an official policy that the board could adopt. And so here we are. Basically, the policy is established to provide guidelines for the public and for our public works staff to follow in order to ensure consistent practices for removal of mud and debris and potential repair of the road right away as a result. The policy basically, if there's concerns during the week and during business hours, the public can call us if they notice some safety concerns, and then we'll review it and address it, work with the sheriff's office if we have to on that to get it cleaned up. And then on the weekends, they can call the sheriff's office to handle those complaints. But it's pretty much just the policy we've been handling in-house, how we handle it. If they don't do it, there is a statute where it is a nuisance misdemeanor where they can work with the county attorney's office and I guess look at the fines and so forth.
Well, I think putting this in the language is the right thing to do. We worked on this in the workshop a little bit, and I guess we can't help what Mother Nature is giving us for working environment, and this isn't just to cover agricultural work. This is anybody and anything out there that brings mud on the road. So it's not to point fingers at anybody. It's just to make sure that we can maintain some safe roads, and I think it's good to have a policy in place. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, we'd like you to consider approval to hire Crow River Glass out of Hutchinson to replace 4 exterior doors on the north side of the Country Diner and the Agribition building at the fairgrounds. The cost for those doors from Crow River Glass was $8,970 plus any applicable tax. And we did receive one other quote from Minneapolis Glass out of Plymouth for a cost of $12,875. Staff would recommend we go with Crow River Glass for those 4 doors. There's budget in the fairgrounds budget for that.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the use of Crow River Glass to replace the 4 doors on the fairgrounds. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer, second by Commissioner Kruger. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
John, just a couple of questions. I noticed in the quote from Crow River Glass, that I believe, well, the quote from either company, but they're half glazed, half glass in 2 of the doors, and then solid panels on the other 2 doors.
I believe so.
Yeah, and the question I had on the solid panels, I think in the Crow River Glass quote it said maple panels. My question is, these are exterior doors. This will be durable for, weather exposure on the north side of the building.
That's my understanding. I'm going with fairgrounds staff's recommendations, and yeah, I could check it out.
All right, I would appreciate it. Thank you, John.
John, are these we see Crow River Glass a lot. This other company, is that the company that often quotes against them for or door things throughout the county?
I'm not sure if they quote them. I don't know that exactly.
Okay. Just wondering how many other, you know, the competition, so to speak, you know what I mean? You know, I appreciate the local vendor, we all know Gary and that type of thing, right? Sounds good.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Well, then the question would be, how does it go out? I mean, where do they look to quote them? Or do you seek out the vendor, or is there a place that they go to?
I don't think there's a place for these they go. I don't know exactly the process they took for this. I assume the fairground staff solicited individuals for the quote. If there's others that there should be soliciting, I guess, let me know, we can pass that on, but.
Mr. Chair, I'm okay with it. I mean, if there's any questions about it, I don't know, whatever the policy is, it is what it is, but I prefer local as much as we can anyway, but.
Ron, are you okay with the material?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as we have the assurance that they're warranted and everything.
Yeah, I
durability,
assume so, yeah.
Okay.
You assume so, or? Okay.
we
All
know-
right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, we'd like to consider approval for quotes for the demolition of 1214 Morningside Avenue. As you know, those are the two homes along Morningside for the project, the reconstruction project that were planned. 1210 was sold. We learned yesterday that the owner of 1210, in order for them to move the 1210 house with their mover, has informed them that they have to have the 1214 house out of there to put the beams in, to get logistics for the move and so forth. So we got some quotes from R&R Excavating, who was actually the owner of 1210, to demolition those homes by November 11th. November 11th is the week that they are planning to move the 1210 house. So we needed fast turnaround on these quotes. R&R Excavating quoted us $12,220 for the demolition of the 1214 home. That includes getting all the permits, working in accordance with all applicable city, county, state, federal laws, removal and disposal of the house and foundation, removal of all utilities necessary to complete the demolition, backfilling of the site with suitable grading material, leveling the lot, putting topsoil on it, removing some trees, removing the driveways, temporary erosion control, and other minor stuff. We will go back in the spring and hydro seed those lots with our own forces, with the county. But R&R Excavating quoted $12,220. Ken's Excavating out of Glencoe quoted $12,955. Estimates for the demo of that house, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 probably. I looked on the Minnesota DOT average bid prices for the last couple of years, and structured demolition is around $11,000, but it's hard to say what exactly was in that. So I think we got fair quotes for how quick we had the turnaround on them, and we'd like to recommend award to the low quote of R&R Excavating for $12,220. This will be part of the Morningside project, and as you know, the Morningside project, all the costs above and beyond any other outside money, state money and so forth, is split 50-50 with the city. So this would be 50% to the city.
Okay, just so everybody knows, we don't like putting things on last minute. In fact, John got an earful from me before the meeting because of that.
Yeah,
I can appreciate the last minute, why this happened.
No.
We like to avoid that, and we've, as a board, need to decide if that's okay. And it probably is, considering the circumstances, but just for the interest of transparency, that's why we allowed it on here, because of the timeline of it. So,
Mr. Chair.
that's part of what's going on. Yes, Doug?
I had some same concerns, and now hearing the whole story, being they got the next house and it needs to go, I had the same concerns, but hearing all that, I guess that's probably we need to get them houses out of there, so it's probably the best way to go. So I'd move to approve the quote from R&R Excavating.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion?
John, if I may, just not related to the issue of the quote, but The Morningside project, will it eventually cut into this now vacant lot, that some of this fill process won't be necessary, but we need to maintain it over the winter, I guess, too, correct?
We need to maintain, I'm not following the,
Well, I'm thinking, they're going to come in with the road project, and they're going to probably tear into some of this lot area as well, or?
a little bit. Part of the issue for those homes having to go is the grade of the future road and so forth,
Okay,
so.
so more of it will be overfilling rather than undercutting the
Right,
surface
correct.
there. Okay, all right, I'm satisfied, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Mid-Minnesota. Good morning, Matt.
Morning.
I've had the opportunity to talk to you a couple of times about the Regional Transportation Coordination Council. I apologize that there still seems to be some confusion. All the stakeholders from UCAP to the Minnesota Board on Aging, the major employers, Central Minnesota Job Training Service, everybody that's been to the table has been very supportive of this. I do have the full support of CCT, and I'm hoping that, again, the resolution is simply asking you to support our work plan. The work plan has already been approved by the state, and we are marking off some of the implementation steps. We want the McLeod County Board to support what we're working for. The state has fully funded this. We are not asking for any money in the foreseeable future. I do believe that our Regional Development Commission can cover the costs of this moving forward if there is a match. I fully anticipated that Sibley County was going to opt out of this. They're not part of our Regional Development Commission. We offered them the ex-official voting member at our board, but that just, I do believe that Sibley County will move forward with this in the future with Region 9, as Mankato is in their Phase 1, whereas we're in our Phase 2, so.
Matt, we've had some conversations, we've had a workshop with it, we've had lots of questions. We've struggled with finding the value in it, right? We were at a Trailblazer meeting the other day, the director of Trailblazer struggled giving us some advice regarding the value in the work plan. Is it correct to say that Renville County opted out of this, or didn't adopt, or at least didn't adopt the same resolution? Would that be accurate?
Yeah, they're still covered under the Mid-Minnesota Development Commission Phase 2. We're still working with their stakeholders, but again.
And that's what would be us too, correct?
Yeah, we wanted to go back to each of the counties to give them the update of what we were working on, where we're heading with this. And so it does mean a lot to us. We need some time here to show some deliverables here. And if you take a look at, public transit provides about 60% of your transportation rides. The non-emergency medical and the other private providers and the volunteer drivers that work either being neighbors or through other organizations, they provide that other 40%. So this is trying to work with all the different providers and all the different programs and make sense of it for your citizens and your major employers and your medical communities and move this forward. And the fact that the state is fully supportive of trying to make this be grassroots, where we get to determine where our priorities are, that's why I asked for the resolution of support on the work plan, because we want to make sure that we're addressing your needs.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Ron.
Matt, I'm going to ask you to take me a little deeper in this. Is this coming as a legislative mandate to MnDOT to get this coordinated, or how did MnDOT conceive this on their
This
own?
is not a legislative mandate. This is a recognition from MnDOT and the Department of Human Services that some of these transportation issues that need coordination are best resolved on a regional basis rather than a top-down approach. And the fact that counties are cooperating with multiple, getting together to do their public transit, it wasn't too long ago and each county was taking care of their own public transit. So just the whole idea of working with your neighbors on transportation, especially the public transportation, makes sense. People's transportation needs do not end at a county boundary. They don't end at Trailblazer Transit's boundaries. And the largest gain here is the fact that we're going to try to sort through all this for your citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Matt, I appreciate that, and that's kind of why I'm tending to want to support this resolution. One, because for years we've struggled with, how do we coordinate efforts, knowing that our public transit system is probably the most cost-effective way to move people around versus the private sector, but yet our public transit system is not there every day, all day long when people need to move, and so we need that coordinated effort to get people to where they need to be, without having, substantial impact or, the cost of, hiring a taxi, if you will, to get them from one place to another. Even in years past, we've often just kind of considered all the options and nobody can do 100% of the job. And I think coordinating a lot of this would give us some efficiencies, down the road. I don't see phase 2 as, making a big difference financially at the county or state level, but eventually, I hope within a few years we have a system that, does what we really hope it would do, and that move people efficiently. And, because a lot of these people that using these transit systems are using it, based on their financial need. They don't have the wherewithal to, hire whoever they want. They need an efficient way, and our social services system, funds a lot of that. And there's, the rub with me is that it costs a lot more to, send them using public assistance to fund the transit system is very expensive.
Right.
And so I hope that in a phase 2 effort to coordinate transit systems, we could start to, unlock those efficiencies and move forward with it.
I will
Doug,
tell you that.
excuse me, Matt. Doug, you're on Mid-Minnesota. Where are you at on this?
Well, I have two different hats. I mean, as far as, I got to worry today about what we do as a county. I'm not very happy.
Doug, pull your mic down, please.
I'm not very happy that HHS is not at the table. That's where the problem is. And I mean, Matt's actually said it. We're actually, through Mid-Minnesota, we're already supporting it. Mid-Minnesota, or Minnesota DOT has already divided us up. I mean, that in itself, with Trailblazer, we have Wright County, Sibley County, we don't have players at the table. And I got an email yesterday on that just made me realize some things, that with Mid-Minnesota, we're already paying taxes to Mid-Minnesota to do this, so we're already in. I mean, what do we do or what are we doing? So I get very upset with DOT. We can't get roads built, but they throw money all over the place. They throw money all over the place, and we can't get any roads built. And don't tell me that isn't gas tax money, because it is. It's money. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just sick of it. I don't like, we don't get anything. HHS, Health and Human Services, has to be at the table of this, and they're not. They're not on the state level, and they're not on a local level, because it's so convoluted that how does the local people support it when we can't even get it? We don't get it. People want to ride, and they don't care, the argument that you got to sit and wait 2 hours for a transit bus to come and get you for $100 less. Not for my mother, she's gone, but not, I mean, I don't do that. Right. So the answer to your question, Mr. Chair, is as McLeod County, I see no value in supporting this. Because we already are in Mid-Minnesota. What's the point of belonging to Mid-Minnesota if we're actually going to buy in twice? I guess that's the bottom line for me.
Hey, Commissioner Kruger, can I just say a moment? Everything you said, I agree with, and I look at it as the justification for why this is needed. We're not going to get any better coordinating transportation unless we expose the problems. And if you can't get people to talk about them, and citizens and the major employers and the medical community to say what the problem is, and we're never going to fix it. So if we don't take a regional look and, I hate to say it, force the stakeholders to get to the table to cooperate, this isn't ever going to get any better, and our transportation needs are just going through the roof.
So how does this phase 2 force the stakeholders to get to the table?
The formation of the advisory council, we have some amazing people that are
That
at the table.
forces them to get to the table?
Well,
'Cause
no.
I'll vote for it right now if it forces them to get to the table.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. We sit in our meetings, and these social workers are darn near in tears because their clients sit at the clinic and they can't get rides.
Right.
It isn't gonna force them,
Yeah.
right?
Well, your support of this resolution is going to send a message to your staff to work with us to identify how we can fix their issues.
Mr. Chair, I beg to differ. We are not to differ, but the pressure needs to be put on the state. This is from the state. There's where the problem is. It's not here.
Yeah.
Our staff recognizes the problem. Obviously, we talk about it all the time. The problem's in the state, and if you can show me how something like this puts pressure to the state, they keep breaking us up. They send money to Transit and Trailblazer, because I sit on Trailblazer, I can only talk about what I know. They send money there. They send money, we're able to get grants through Mid-Minnesota, and they're almost polarized. So how do we turn the screws on the state to get this settled?
I have a meeting tomorrow with 14 state agencies on this subject to make this better. 14 state agencies will be at the table tomorrow to expose what needs to improve.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I haven't weighed in on this, and I've got some thoughts here. Number one is, you've been working on this problem with transportation, the whole realm, for a long time. I think we sit here as a board wondering, where do we get our measurements of success or a value? I shouldn't use the
understand.
word success.
I understand
Of
what you're saying.
value
Yep.
from, not that you're not attempting. I
get it.
I understand the problem, and I think the concept is solid. Now, how do we take a solid concept and turn it into reality? That I'm not sure. And I guess for me, I need to have some assurance that there's going to be a value at the end of what we do as a board. Otherwise, why should we do it?
Yeah. The two main deliverables for Phase 2 are the resource guide, which sorts through the providers and the different programs, and then more importantly, in my opinion, the gaps analysis for our region. So what we're doing right and what we can do better. Those are two deliverables that are on Phase 2.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I guess my final statement is, and I don't disagree. I think you're working hard to solve a problem. That's not the question, but I remember when we did Phase 1, and I cautioned that I wanted to see a value out of Phase 1 before we moved into Phase 2, and I really didn't see Phase 1 finished to show a value. So, there's all these little things are bothering me. I mean, and again, I want to emphasize, there's Mid-Minnesota hat, there's a county commissioner hat. I'm talking about our county commissioner. I'm sitting on the county commissioner board today, and that's what I'm talking as. But I just did not see the value out of 1 to go into 2, and I see a rationalization, but I don't see any concrete things moving forward.
And unfortunately, Phase 1 wasn't set up for any deliverables. It was just trying to get people to the table to discuss the need for this. And based on what we discovered, we pursued Phase 2 and we developed this work plan. And people are excited about what we've identified here.
Matt, we need your help, but I don't know that this gets it. So, anyway, I would make a move to deny the resolution, or make a motion to deny the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Is there any discussion?
I'll just add in, I know there are many board members that are closer to this transportation issues than I am. Others have served on Trailblazer, and I've not taken a turn at that one. But it seems like you don't get any attention towards a problem until you have some kind of a study or a plan. And for years, I've heard about a lot of wasted dollars and energy in this area of transportation funding, and if it's not the dollar part, it's that we can't get the service that we need. That's the other part of it. And I've definitely been listening to other board members talk here, and I guess it seems like until you have a plan, it's hard to wrap your arms around anything. So I'm going to probably take the benefit of the doubt and believe that there's probably some benefit here, but to watch this a little bit more closely as it materializes. It sounds like the good plan. I sure hope that it stays together, but I have no idea where the rest of the vote is going to be at. But I guess I'm gonna nod towards in favor of it in the end. Hopefully it follows through with being able to identify some issues that we're having.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Matt, this is phase 2. How many more phases do you anticipate in this process before we do see,
Yeah, I do
actual
believe that
action?
you will see some positive steps in the right direction during phase 2 here. So within the next 6 months, we're working on the resource guide right now and slowly turning our attention over to the gaps analysis. And I'm setting the bar high on those documents. I hope that you guys, and I care mostly about making sure that the county staff still works with me. The Human Service Department, they need to identify what issues that they have so we can help them.
Sure, okay. But do you anticipate a phase 3 or phase 4, I guess is my question.
Yeah. MnDOT's looking at this for the first 5 years to get this thing going before there's local, before it's self-sustaining. We do have some key stakeholders that are looking at providing some funds in the future to do some certain things, like transportation training program for seniors, so that somebody can help them figure out what their transportation options are.
All right,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Doug?
again, my problem is that according to our director from Trailblazer, they're doing these same type of funding in Trailblazer. Again, I don't know how to get the teeth. To me, saying no to the state is saying we recognize the problem, but get your head on it. I mean, they're starting some same processes through Trailblazer on other avenues to do the same thing you're doing. Can't we combine our forces somehow? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just so much transportation money wasted.
Okay, just to be clear, so everybody votes the way they want to, the motion is to deny the resolution. All right? All right. All in favor of denying the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose?
Aye.
No.
All right, so a roll call vote. Rich?
Opposed.
Paul?
Opposed?
I vote yes. Ron?
No.
Doug?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion fails 3-2. Is there any other action that the board wishes to take?
I'll make a motion to approve
The
the
okay.
resolution.
Motion by Commissioner Wright to approve the resolution.
Second?
Motion, second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? And I will call a roll call vote right away. Save a little time. So, Commissioner Polmeyer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
I vote no. Commissioner Szymanski?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
No.
Motion carries 3-2 to approve the resolution.
Thank you. Your concerns are duly noted, and I will work hard to address those for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Matt.
Thank you,
Yep.
Matt.
All right.
Matt, I think, well, and thanks for that last comment, but I think, well, you definitely know where the frustration is from, and it's coming from probably the two board members that know the most about this topic, which would be
Right.
Commissioner Nagel and Kruger. But in my opinion, anyways, maybe you just want to keep us updated.
Okay, I will.
And let us know what path this is taking. A split vote means that there's some strong feelings both ways on this, and so keep us within some information that will show that we did the right thing here today. Then.
Thank you.
All right. All right. I've got a couple things that we need to reset for, so I'm going to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll get started with a public hearing. All right?
Okay.
Board meeting to order. Well, a public hearing, it's item number 7 under the agenda. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer, second by Commissioner Wright. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's a couple different items that need to be addressed. Mike, why don't you help me navigate that first?
Certainly. First of all, you ought to be informed that a petition has been received that was submitted by the Crow River Golf Club, and you ought to address that at some point. Secondly, you have under consideration the petition of Mr. and Mrs. Jilkin, and they're represented by Mr. King. So, Mr. Chair, what I would suggest is that you offer Mr. King the opportunity to briefly address the board, then offer anybody from the golf club the opportunity to address the board, that you then take any additional comment, and then you close it for your public input, and then I will have some principles and some laws that we need to follow and some suggestions, but ultimately the choice is yours.
All right. Mr. King? This, just for the record, I won't read all of this, but the item was tabled. I believe it was from, August 20th?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. As Mr. Young pointed out, I represent Mr. and Mrs. Jelkin, who are the owners of 1220 Oakwood Lane. And to the north of their property is a portion of land that was part of Old County Road 12 that has since been moved to its current location. And as part of that, this 33-foot by 100-foot strip of land was never vacated. Now, the entirety of Old Highway 12 was vacated down the line, and it appears that everybody got their 33 feet on either side, but this parcel, for whatever reason, was treated differently, and the 33 feet was left open. So Mr. and Mrs. Jelkin petitioned the board to vacate that and fix that problem where their parcel was treated differently so that they could be the owners of their 33 feet. I would like to address the petition that the golf course submitted. We never received notice of that, and it doesn't appear any public notice was received of that either. So that petition is being treated, as of right now, as far as I know, a little bit differently than ours, where no public notice has been given. So that's.
And let's address that issue. It was received by the county auditor treasurer within the last week. She's required to bring that before the board at its next meeting. This is not the public hearing on that petition. So depending on what happens here today, we may or may not have to have an additional public hearing on the petition of the golf course.
Thank you. So with that clarified, I just want the board to imagine themselves that this is the owner of this parcel, where you come in and you find out that there's this weird strip of land. I'm not sure if it's mine. I'm not sure if it's there. You start talking to the neighbors, and they tell you that, well, the county road used to run through there, and they moved it, and everybody got 33 feet, but this one didn't, and we were not sure why, but it's there. And you go and petition the board to have it vacated. The golf course comes in and says, well, we've had people use that for a number of years as another access. You think, well, okay, fine. Do they not have access anywhere else? And you come to find out that they've been using Colorado Street, their main access, for a number of years. This additional access is just for a couple of their members to scoot their golf courts across. And is that really in the county's interest to protect? The golf course also suggested that they use the access for other events such as cross-country skiing or snowmobiling. And again, I say to the board, put yourselves in the shoes of the owners of 1220 and say, okay, well, is the golf course a public park? No, it's not. It's a private entity. So why should they get any more right to this land than I do as a private landowner? And we really want you to think about that. Is it fair to put the burden on the Jelkins parcel, which has already been sort of treated unfairly for whatever the reason, that they didn't get their 33 feet when the rest of Old County Road 12 was vacated, and the golf course is now coming in and asking you to divide their 33 feet in half and give them 16 and a half feet, them 16 and a half feet, and you say, well, now you're treating this parcel different again. Now, one of the members who was present here at this board meeting of the golf course, Mr. Jurgensen, owns the land directly to the north. And we ask, why shouldn't he have to share in that burden of his 33 feet that was already given to his parcel a number of years ago when the Fairway Estate Edition was platted. It just doesn't seem right that this parcel is treated so differently than every other parcel. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone representing the golf course wish to speak to the board?
Hi, good morning. Ryan Heining, the Vice President of the Golf Course Board. I think we submitted our petition and that states what we would like or desire, which essentially is a continuation of recreational use and access to that area for probably the last 30 years. So we're not asking for any major change. We're simply asking for a continuation and a partnership that we would offer, again, to support maintenance, whatever that entails, to keep that open and clear for public access. I think that's all we have at this point. And if you don't have any other questions, thank you.
All right. Anyone else wish to address the board from the public regarding this? Mr. Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are a couple of principles that I wanted to look at here about how the board ought to deal with this. And the first principle is that no one is entitled to this 33-foot by 430-foot parcel. The county owns it. The way that the other land was dealt with was that when the property to the north was platted, the county signed a quitclaim easement for the 33 feet. I don't believe that the golf course ever received anything from the county. Am I positive of that? No. Have I looked into that? No. But I believe that that 33-foot strip probably goes all the way to the road that's on the west side of the golf course, behind the homes that are currently there. So nobody is entitled to this parcel. Secondly, you should have received at some point a diagram that Mr. Bronkhorst put together showing where the electric main line and where Nuvera have their easements. Those utilities are in place there at our request. We ask that those utilities put their infrastructure within our easement. So we have to respect those. A third is that the grass, the weeds need to be managed and maintained. So that's the principles that I kind of looked at. Then I looked at some options and found out some new statutes that I, in 37 years, had never heard of before. The first of which was Minnesota Statute 465.035 that allows the county to give to any other governmental unit this parcel of land for public purpose. So if you wanted to give it to the city of Hutchinson, you could. If you wanted to give it to the utility commission, you could. Should you do that? I don't think so. It just dumps the problem somewhere else. So that was one option. A second statute that I never got down to the bottom of the statute in the past is 373.01 subdivision 1, subdivision 1, parents 5, parents I. And it says the county may, when selling real property owned in fee simple that cannot be improved because of noncompliance with local ordinances regarding minimum area, shape, frontage, access, proceed to sell the non-conforming parcel without advertising at bid. At the county's discretion, the real property may be restricted to sale to adjoining landowners or may be sold to any interested party. It has to be sold to the highest bidder, but no less than 90% of the market value. That is an option that you have, and you could either sell it as one parcel, or you could split it into the northeast half and versus the southwest half, however you want to do that. But when making such a sale, we would have to reserve the right of the utilities to use that, not just for their infrastructure, but they also use that as access to drive a truck along to get at the remainder of their infrastructure. I had looked at the pros and the cons of granting the petition. The pros of Jolnick. The pros would that it would be back on the tax roll and somebody is responsible for the gas, or for the grass and the weeds. The cons are that the utilities need to be addressed. And the mere fact that we abandon it as a highway easement doesn't negate the fact that we still own the property. And it doesn't say that the property goes to Jolnick. So what that could very well do is just set up a legal battle between the Jolnicks, Jurgensen, Hutch Utilities, the golf course, and McLeod County. So that does not seem like a good idea. And if you are going to deny the petition, you ought to do that. There is then a 30-day appeal period, and we shouldn't do anything until that appeal period has ended. What are the pros and cons of denying the petition? Well, if you deny the petition, it gives you the options of a sale. It gives you the options of just keeping it. I believe that there is an offer from the golf course that they will mow it and maintain it weed-free. And if you deny the petition, nobody is deprived of anything that they bought. Another option would be to sell the southwest half and keep the northeast half, 16 and a half feet, and have the golf course maintain it as they have offered to do. Those are what I see as your choices. Whatever you do, I don't think you ought to just abandon it. So I think you ought to deny the petition here today. If you decide you ought to sell it, then the question is going to be, are you going to sell all of it? Are you going to sell half of it? But those are issues that you get to address.
How do we deal with the golf course petition and the timing of it?
Well, we are going to ask them, after you take action here, if they wish to withdraw their petition or if they wish to pursue it. If they withdraw it, then we don't need to have a public hearing. If they wish to pursue it, then we need to have a public hearing.
All right.
And their vice president is here, and their general manager is here, so I think that they have the voices here that can address that.
All right. Does the board have any questions for Mike?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Couple things. We can't give it away. We can't give it away unless we give it to another entity or a city or government entity. Is that correct?
Correct.
I mean, we can't keep having try to facilitate a happy ending here. It doesn't work that way. But I guess my other question as I'm going, and I should have already known the answer, is the rest of that easement going what I would call the west or northwest, is that officially done? I mean, is the abstract, does it reflect that they do own the rest of the properties?
I know that the 16 and a half feet that is nearest where the homeowners live was conveyed by quitclaim deed from the county to the people that developed the property, or the 33 feet, I'm sorry. So the road has a 66-foot easement, 33 on each side. So the 33 feet that is nearest the homes was definitely conveyed by quitclaim deed from, and we just renounced any interest in it. I was of the opinion back then, and I'm the person who was sitting here back then, it was in the early 90s. I was of the understanding that the property was easement only and that we didn't own the property. Mr. King has shown that, at least with regard to this parcel, that's not true.
Thanks, and I realized that I didn't know it either till we started this, that we actually owned it, but I guess ultimately, I don't want to settle this end of it and then find out that we got another hornet's nest to the west. So I'd like, I mean, once we get done here, I'd like to make sure it's all done, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, this is the only thing that has reared its head in the last 37 years.
Okay. Again, in an attempt to stay organized, the matters in front of us are the, correct, Mike, the Jelkins petition to vacate.
Correct. And it's my recommendation that you deny that petition on the basis that, one, it wouldn't convey the property to Jelkin, and the other, and it would just set up a legal battle between the 5 parties that I mentioned.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I do have one, and I think I know the answer to this question. The easements for utilities stay with the property no matter who gets it. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. There are no easements currently for those utilities. They're in our right-of-way. I don't believe that there's anything that is recorded. We would have to take care of that prior to any conveyance of the property, or as a part of any conveyance of the property.
And forgive me, can you go over again? You mentioned something about even if we did vacate it, it wouldn't, and that was part of the legal issue, right? Even if we did vacate it, the ownership would still fall under McLeod County.
Well,
is that where you were going with that?
That's exactly where I'm going. The mere fact that we say that we're not going to use it as a road anymore doesn't transfer the property to anyone. It just says we aren't going to use it as a road anymore. It doesn't convey the property to Jolnick. It doesn't convey the property to anybody else. And we own fee simple, and so it stays with us. Now, it would also set up a quiet title fight between the parties that are there, and the parties that are there are the golf course, Jorgensen, Jolnick, and the utilities. And I should mention, Mr. King has stated that they understand that the easement for the utilities has to be a part of anything that takes place. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
One last question, a thing that I didn't know that you read in one of those statutes. I didn't know we could limit the bidding to just interested party. That still makes it legal. I mean, right? Is that right?
hey, I didn't know that until last week either, so we're in the same boat there. I never get to that part of the statute because the answer is always answered up top. This is one of those obscurities of statutes where the legislators, those people that are in St. Paul, actually thought about us folks that are doing stuff out here.
But we don't have an assessed value.
No, we don't have an assessed value, so you couldn't sell it today if you wanted to. And you don't want to do anything until the appeal period for the denial of any petition has been resolved.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
This is indeed an interesting issue that we have before us. In the past, when we have taken small parcels of land. I remember doing this a couple different times, little 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 acres that we have out there. We grouped them together. We've had auditor's office has run a public bid, and we got rid of a bunch of those fragments that just happen over time from platting or road projects. I think a lot of them had to do with a railroad, even in the past. That's a good, very transparent way to move property if we choose to do that. This one with the utilities underneath make it a unique one to operate or to work with. And I'm not sure if I'm ready to say anybody, an individual, entity, or group should own it, because we really haven't answered how those utilities are going to be handled within that process very well. We definitely know that they're there, and that's what we asked to have done from our last meeting. We know that when you start making arrangements dealing with things like we've dealt with tile in the past, or here we have utilities, it's not always the first property owners that you have problems with down the road. It's the second, third, and fourth that somehow cause some issues, and it might be just best avoided if this parcel remains within county's hands at this point until we get a little better idea about what some logical answers are down the road. I would like to just keep a hold of this property, enter in an agreement with the golf course for maintenance so that it is kept clean and neat and looks like somebody actually cares about it. That would be good. I think we at least need to sit down with the telephone company and with Hutch Utilities and have a conversation about, in the future, if we did want to transfer this land to some other ownership options, what that would look like and how that would impact what they have for underground work. So that's where I'm at today. I think the easiest way to work with this is to enter into a maintenance agreement with the golf course, which they have offered, and at least the land looks well kept up, and we don't have issues with weeds or an unsightly area. But at least it's been indicated that through all this, that we do own it, and we need to act like we own it then. So.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mike, earlier in the discussion, you alluded to the fact that the original right-of-way, the parcel line that we're looking at right now is the center line of the old road right-of-way.
No. The far northeast parcel line was the center line of the road.
Okay, so that was my question, is the north side of that center line has already been conveyed to the adjacent property owners?
As a part of the original platting process, yes.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
That. Okay, thank you.
So this is half of the former highway right-of-way.
Okay, good. Thanks for clarifying that.
All right. I'm sorry, Doug, did you have something? I feel like I cut you off.
No, I really don't. I just realized something that I don't like to see. But I do have a problem with, if the golf course was a city-owned golf course, or if it was more of a public, I could maybe go along with some agreement, but it's a private club. I don't see why we should treat them any different than any other property owner. That'd be my only, I mean, I don't know that we're in the business of keeping something just, or at least long-term, just because there's power lines going through there, or they need to drive a golf cart down there, or anything for that matter. I don't see where our advantage is as to the county. I don't want to own a little sliver of land in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I would say
These are not power lines, they're buried cable.
Electrical, yeah, I knew that, excuse me.
Yeah, I guess I would be probably leaning towards selling it myself too. But that's probably a conversation for 30 days from now, if I'm listening to Mike correctly.
Well,
because we don't want to do anything then until then anyway, right?
You have to act on the
Right.
Jelnik petition that is before you, and then we have to deal, or excuse me, the Jelkin. I'm sorry that I state your name. The Jelkin petition is before you, and you need to act on that, and then you need to let the appeal period from that action
Yep.
take place.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so again, yes, Mr. King.
Thank you, just briefly. As far as any maintenance of the property goes, the Jelkins have been maintaining that part. They have been doing the mowing and stuff to what they believe was their 33 feet. So to enter any maintenance agreement with the golf course just seems inappropriate. They have been maintaining that. Again, they want to reiterate the fact that they would take the property subject to any easements and utilities and all that. They know that those are there and then have to remain and have no issues with that. Thank you.
Mr. King?
Yes.
And this is conversations I've, and it doesn't change probably what we're going to do with the petition, but, or at least what I would. I don't want to speak for the board, but your clients expressed, at least to me offline, about some issues regarding potential, I don't know, infringement on property lines and trespassing issues. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? You know, I mean, not to put you on the spot. And
Right.
I apologize.
No, absolutely. I mean, they expect golf carts to be traversing, on the golf course, behind their property. As far as the golf carts nuisance, as they like to call it from time to time, because sometimes it is. They run over their property line. The property line isn't clear. And so they do experience trespass from time to time for people that are either using it to golf or to use for walks with their dogs and things like that. So their privacy does get invaded from time to time, and their land does indeed get trespassed from time to time, which is also a concern.
All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Szymanski?
Mr. King,
Yes.
so you would be the most familiar with your petition here. The petition to vacate means there would be, in this phase, there's no offer to compensate the county for the access to the property, is that correct?
I have not had any discussions regarding that.
Pardon me?
I have not had any discussions with my client regarding that.
Okay, all right.
All right, I will offer a motion to deny the petition to vacate by the Jelkins.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
my discussion would be, we gotta take this at one thing at a time, and I will go along with the motion maker to deny this, but because I think it needs to be sold. I mean, we need to get rid of it, and we can't give it away, so I don't know how else to do it but to sell it. So that's why I would probably go along with denying this petition.
Yeah, I agree, one step at a time, and this is the first one. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Young, help me with what's next, please.
Well, what's next is a question of the golf course as to whether or not they wish to continue with their petition, and if so, then we would have to set that for a public hearing after publication, and that would take about 30 days. If they wish to withdraw, then there would be no need for a public hearing.
Gentlemen, I can give you a few minutes, but are you ready to let us know?
Again, Ryan Heining, Vice President of the Board at the Crow River Golf Course. So our petition is requesting the same to vacate, since the board has just made a decision not to use that procedure. Then our petition, we would remove our petition to vacate half of that property based on your decision that you just made. In addition, we would also suggest that an easement not only for the utilities, but an easement for recreational use. As Mr. King just pointed out, folks do walk there. People that aren't members at the semi-private golf course, people are using that to walk, so that is a public use. And so a consideration for recreational easement along with the utilities easement might be considered.
So your petition is withdrawn.
We are withdrawing our petition.
Very good. Thank you.
So, but we're not discussing any easement other than the utilities that are there right now. There's nothing in addition that's going to be discussed right now.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I truly don't have an answer for this, so I'm not trying to be coy, but what do you mean by semi-private? I don't, I guess I really truly don't understand what you meant by that.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Parsons, General Manager and Head Golf Professional at Crow River. Semi-private means we do have stockholders. They are members of the club, but we also allow access to the club, driving range, practice facilities to the public of Hutchinson. So it is not a private facility.
And the definite, you mean by that is you don't deny any, if I wanted to come or anybody wants to come, you don't deny access?
We do not deny access.
I just wanted to make sure I
Yep.
understood what, thank you.
It's open to the public.
All right. Mr. Young, what's next?
I think that you've done as much as you can do at some point, and you are going to have to take up what do you do now, and I would recommend that not be for at least 30 days.
The question I have for you is this, do we close the public hearing, or does it need to be tabled or extended to another date?
No, I would close it.
Okay.
Move to close the public hearing, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, back to the regular board meeting. I believe we are under building maintenance. Scott?
Morning. I'm here to request approval to award New Barth Landscaping the snow removal contract for the McLeod County facilities to be paid from the various building budgets. 3 vendors were solicited. We had 1 no response, and then we had 1 late response. I do know in talking to the late response that he would not have met New Barth's price. New Barth held his pricing from the last 2 years, and he's done a very great job for us. He was very responsive in an active snow year like we had last year. So are there any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the contract for snow removal at the county facilities.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mike, I'm sorry, but you're back up.
There is a resolution in your packet that sets a time limit for the projects and indicates that your local sales tax option is going to be dedicated to the projects that are indicated on the list that you discussed at that public hearing. What is the term of the final, is it 10 years or 20 years? I knew it was going to be one of those. I don't recall which one it was.
10 years.
10 years? Okay. So what's important to know is that that this tax has a sunset time. It's dedicated to specific projects. At any point in time, if you want to have a public hearing to review the use of that local sales tax option and to review the projects that it's used for and to review the end date, you are free to do that.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
forgive me, I'm trying to locate the resolution in my packet here, and I'm not finding it yet.
273.
273, thank you.
John, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you spelled it out. Basically, the tax, how the resolution's written right now, the sales tax would be in place till
December 31st, 2049, or until revenues raised are sufficient to finance those identified project improvements. And also, you will review the list for sure within 10 years, but most likely it'll be before that. So that's what.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
In reading the resolution, I'm looking at paragraph number 4. Be it further resolved that the attached McLeod County local option sales tax proposed projects list does not establish a prioritization of projects which may be completed in any order as determined by the McLeod County engineer. I would like to modify or amend that paragraph, if I may, which may be completed in any order as recommended by the McLeod County Highway Engineer and authorized by the McLeod County Board of Commissioners.
That would take an amendment to the resolution, and if that's a motion, you're free to make that.
That is my motion, Mr. Chair.
So it's motion for the resolution with that amendment.
No, it's
We
just
need
a
the
motion
amendment
for
first.
the amendment.
Okay. All right. Can you restate it, please?
All right. Be it further resolved that the attached McLeod County local option sales tax proposed projects list does not establish a prioritization of projects which may be completed in any order as recommended by the McLeod County engineer and authorized by the McLeod County Board of Commissioners.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion on the amendment to the resolution?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is that, to me, it makes sense, and that's why I seconded it. And for discussion, John, have you got any?
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my question is, with that verbiage, does that tie any hands tight that we can't accomplish some of the projects that need to be accomplished?
No.
Mr. Chair, I'm thinking it does just the opposite. I'm hoping that's what it does.
Mr. Chair, the intent is to leave the final responsibility with the County Board of Commissioners rather than at the sole discretion of the highway engineer.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So I believe now we can pass the entire resolution.
Mr. Chair, I move the adoption of Resolution 19 CB 46 for the local option sales tax for transportation.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Rich, you can hit your calendar.
Okay. Since the last board meeting, had the Pack for Families meeting the following day out at Granite Falls. Very good discussion and presentation on youth mental health. And one of the issues that's going to continue to come forward, this one was developed or assessing and trying to help youth mental health from age virtually 0 to up to 6 years. And it's a very intensive program that is being developed. And there's about 4 spots across western Minnesota that are doing this. One in Montevideo, one in Granite Falls, I think Pipestone was one. There was one other one. Interesting project. One of the things that I've learned over the last couple of years about mental health and youth mental health especially is sometimes I think we're asking our children to grow up too fast and be adults through our social media and other forms that they don't get a chance to be kids anymore. They're asked to be grown-ups too quick. Enough off of that soapbox. On the 14th, they had a JD8 ditch meeting. On the 16th, we had a SWAC meeting discussing through the recycling programs in the county what may or may not, they may or may not look like in the future. So that brings me up to today.
Okay, well, I'm not able to get my calendar open this morning, but the ones that I can remember, Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which Rich had mentioned, the Ditch Authority for Ditch 8 had a meeting with some action steps, and if Doug wants to expand on that, he sure can. He chairs that group. We also had a budget meeting before that Ditch 8 meeting. So.
After our last meeting, we had a board workshop, Fair Commission meeting where it focused a lot on repairs. We talked a little bit about that with the door replacements, a lot of conversations regarding maintenance, regarding the grounds that we'll probably see a lot of conversations about. Department head meeting, personnel meeting, community health board meeting where we talked about the director replacement, SWAC, and Trailblazer. Ron?
All right. Well, Mr. Chair, you've kind of hit all my points, too.
Well, I was trying.
We had the workshop following the last county board meeting. The Meeker McLeod Sibley Public Health Community Health Board had a meeting on the 15th. We were still trying to refine our search for our next director for the Meeker McLeod Sibley Public Health organization. We think we've got it dialed in. Hopefully we'll have an interview with candidates in the next couple weeks and button that position up. On the 16th, we had McLeod Treatment Program meeting. We're actually recruiting candidates to serve on that board. We've got a couple of good candidates lined up, but if anyone else is interested in helping us out on the McLeod Treatment Program, we do have one, possibly two openings on that board for local citizens that want to be involved in helping the troubled youth stay on the right path. And then we had the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting also that same morning on the 16th, and things are kind of taking shape with our recycling program. We've had some rough spots over the last couple of years, and I think we've got it dialed into where we can make it a more manageable program for all of our residents going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Most of my days have been covered by the other board members, but I did have on the 9th, I had High Island Rush River Watershed Board meeting. There we're going through some of the same things we did with the North Fork Crow. One watershed, one plan is starting to take over these areas, which I would hope is going to be an improvement, and we're going to try to stay organized so we have a position at the table in order to get a direction of where one watershed, one plan goes. On the 11th, I had a Southwest Transportation meeting in Granite Falls at the transportation station there, just talking about different projects that are coming up in the years to come. And let me see. On the 14th, I met with some of our staff and city here at the city center to try and resolve some of our water issues up behind social services and our property to the north of town, our ag property. We have some tile issues there that are flooding some people's backyards, and we're working with our staff and trying to work together with the city we're running pumps there right now. I can't believe it's so hard to find pumps, but we've got Scott Grivner, our maintenance guy, to go buy a pump and some hose, and we're running a pump there now, and it is helping. So from there, we want to open it up and try to jetter it out. And in the meantime, we're going to work together with the landowner, the city, and the county to go to Buffalo Creek Watershed to try and bring some of the water north of town around to the northwest. So hopefully we can get some movement on there. We have an agreement between all of us, and that sounds promising at least. I also, Commissioner Wright alluded to our JDA meeting. I've had several meetings with that. Obviously, emotions run high when different things are going on that have been there for 50 years, so, but we are moving forward. We found resolutions to keep moving forward, and between rainstorms, the contractor is getting some work done out there. On the 18th, I had a conference call through Minnesota Rural County Caucus. We're doing some challenging of the DNRs as built. The DNR, I don't have the resolution in front of me, I apologize, but it has to do with the DNR challenging our, when we change ditches and go to the as-built, that they challenge that as an improvement. And it's through the legislature, and we have another meeting coming up. This was a pre-meeting to know just exactly how we're going to challenge this, but...
Which system is that, sir?
It's through Mid-Minnesota. The DNR challenges us all the time when we do a redetermination.
Which is the ditch system, though?
It's on any ditch. It's on it. There's some precedent set out of Lacaparo on how it's been ruled, but it's on any, like on JD8, they just put a notice of challenge, but they didn't do anything about it. But just to go back to as-built, we're arguing that they shouldn't have a voice in slowing down the process. Thank you.
Sheila, anything to add?
No, thank you.
Okay, you can take it away.
Item A, consider approval for a second extension of personal leave for a full-time employee from September 26th through November 25th, 2019 for the employee's own health issue. This employee was granted a 30-day personal leave from June 1 through June 30th, 2019, and an extended leave from July 1 through July 31, 2019. I asked for this item to be tabled for 2 weeks at our last meeting to take more time to look into the request and the situation. As you know, I can't share a lot of information about a request like this, and we've discussed possibly not having these requests come to the board, but rather go to the Personnel Committee. When you look at this, you do see that it's a leave, an unpaid leave that doesn't come at a cost to the county necessarily directly to the employee. However, it does come at a cost of not having that person on staff for public works. So John's staff is lighter when someone is out on leave, and also taking into consideration that this could happen at any department, and some of our departments are very small, and whether or not this type of extension is sustainable throughout the county. The employee would be responsible for the cost of their benefits while they're out on leave. The full cost, the county contribution is not given during this time of an unpaid leave, and that is all the information I have to give you to take for consideration unless you have questions.
I guess the question I have is what is the question, what is the action before the board, or what should we be taking here? I mean,
It's asking whether or not you want to offer a third unpaid personal leave to an employee September 26th through November 25th, at least. And from my understanding, there would probably be another request for an extension after that as well.
what is your recommendation?
The only thing that you're acting, though, on is this right here.
Correct.
So don't take into account whether there could be another one.
That's fair, but I guess, thank you. Sheila, what's your recommendation?
I've met with the employee to try and come to an understanding of what's best for them. I've gone over the information of what's best for the county. I know that John, when it comes down to it, John needs that person working. He needs that position to be able to be filled and performing service for Public Works. My recommendation is that if you do approve, that you approve for John to have staff, but that doesn't take into account what it would cost for him to train someone, if he can find someone, and it is easier to backfill, obviously, a full-time position than one that's temporary and there's no I don't have a full recommendation for you as to what you should do. I just want you to take into consideration that we may not be able to do this for other employees in smaller departments. We may not be able to cover for this many days if someone needed to be out. And sometimes it may not even be what's best for the employee if they're out of work, essentially, on an unpaid leave and not receiving pay. Then you may want to consider what would be available to them if they are unemployed through the county.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move to approve the request for personal leave from September 26th to November 25th for an employee's own health issue.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski, second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sheila, has this issue also been discussed at the Personnel Committee level?
This is not a personnel committee issue at this time. No, it has not.
Okay. All right. I think I'm considering that these issues probably should be vetted at the Personnel Committee level and then, if necessary, brought to the county board. But that's for future consideration.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would agree with that it needs to go to the person, just because of privacy. Nowadays, you can't say anything. I believe that it's more important right now, everything that I recall about this situation, it's time for John to be able to fully staff his department. So, I mean, I don't know, we're just postponing the inevitable to me, but that's my opinion, and that's why I'm kind of against moving forward with another extension.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call. Rich?
Aye.
Paul?
Yes.
Yes. Ron?
Yes.
Doug?
No.
Passes 4-1. Item B.
Item B, consider approval of Personnel Committee recommendation for a budget-neutral adjustment of hours of 2 public health positions to A, decrease Women, Infants, and Children Coordinator from 80 hours per pay period to 72 hours per pay period. B, increase Health Educator from 60 to 64 hours per pay period to 72 hours per pay period.
Any questions for Sheila?
Mr. Chair, it looks fairly straightforward. I'd move to approve the request.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, notification of McLeod County Workshop with McLeod County Cities to be held at 3:30 p.m. on October 29, 2019 at the McLeod County Fairgrounds at 840 Century Avenue Southwest in Hutchinson, Minnesota. Item D, notification of McLeod County Workshop to be held on November 5th, 2019, following the county board meeting at the Glencoe City Center. And the addition of notification for item E. Read that again, notification of McLeod Drainage Authority public hearing on redetermination of benefits of county ditches 63 and 64. The Drainage Authority will hear public comment on the acceptance of the redetermination of benefits in the McLeod County North Complex Building, large conference room, 2391 Hennepin Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota, on Monday, November 18th, 2019 at 9:00 a.m.
All right, before we move into closed session, is there any open forum? Press relations? Closed session is to discuss 2020 union contract negotiations and employee contributions to healthcare, and we don't plan on taking any action after we reopen the meeting. With that, is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wright.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
is there any possibility of action after that?
There is,
Closed
but I guess I
session?
wasn't predicting any. Do you predict some?
I think it could be possible. I don't know exactly how it works, but do they need to vote on any decisions made? Or,
Well, they can't do anything with regard to anything about the wages. Is there something about the health care package that they need to act on here today, or can they do that in 2 weeks?
I believe we need to do that today if possible.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll take that back. There's the potential that we may vote on some health care issues.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor of going to closed session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.